African time isn't what you think it is. Forget what you've heard about Africa being behind the rest of the world, constantly running behind schedule. Because African time isn't what you think it is. This is the Africa we know. A fast and imaginative Africa, a connected Africa, a game-changing, economy-building, groundbreaking Africa, a future-focused Africa, an Africa built by Africans, built by entrepreneur heroes who are here to show up and show others, here to bring a new meaning to the phrase African time, here to change the face of Africa, on time, in time, and ahead of our time. This is our time. It's African time.
It is indeed African time. It is Africa's time. Wherever you might find yourself on the continent of Africa, be you male or female, from the east, from the south, from the west, from the north, it is our time. And I'm so excited that so many of you have logged on to this conversation, the ABH annual meeting. And you know what? One of the things that it tells me, it tells the entire ABH team, is that we are ready to grab the bull by the horns, from solution-driven businesses to the investments that we want to make, to the talent we want to build, to the technology we want to use. It is our time. My name is Anita Erskine, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful city of Accra in the wonderful country of Ghana, nestled in the West African part of this extraordinary continent we call Africa. Now, today is going to be extraordinary, from our speakers to our engagements to our polls. We want you to be involved. Of course, we've got a chat function, so do feel free to ask questions along the way, or if there's anything you need help with, our team is on hand to support you throughout the entire program. Now, a few things that I really want you to know also, that we understand that language, as exciting as it may be, can also be a barrier. So we've got the French simultaneous translation button right there. It should be at the base of your screen, okay? Donc, on va faire la traduction en même temps, okay? So you should be able to find the function right there, and you can listen to everything our speakers share as well in French. Now, today, we are splitting the program in two. This first part of the program is filled with so many different elements. Very, very soon, I'm bringing onto the stage, so to speak, our executive director of the Jack Ma Foundation. And as you can see on your screen, we'll have a variety of speakers. Now, one thing I'm really excited about today is we also have 2 fireside chats. Now, if you are really into this whole Zoom thing now, you know that the fireside chat will bring out quite a lot of conversations, not just with 1 or 2 people, but with 3 or 4 people. It's so essential that we hear people's opinions, especially at this time when we really do want to activate. Now, when we're done with the first part of this extraordinary program, we have the second part, which comprises the breakout sessions. And do remember that the breakout sessions are all happening simultaneously. And by that, I mean, if you look on your screen, you will see that the investment time, its investment time and its talent time will happen simultaneously. After those 2 sessions, its technology time and its marketing time will also happen simultaneously. You can see our extraordinary speakers who will be taking the stage for the breakout sessions. Now, how to join the breakout session will be activated at the end of this first part of the conversation. You'll have a wonderful little tiny, I guess it's like 4 square button at the base of your screen. If you're using a computer, if you're using a PC or a Mac, you'll see at the end of part 1 that we have created this breakout session tool right there. Now, when you click on the breakout session, it allows you to join the talent and marketing sessions, okay? And of course, if you're also using the smartphone or a tablet, you'll see the functionality right there along the screen of your tablet or your smartphone. So we're taking care of absolutely everybody. And of course, when it gets time for the breakout sessions, we'll also go through this one more time. You can leave the breakout room to join the main room, which will have the investment session and the technology session, or you may just stay in talent and marketing. You will have options. Just remember not to click the leave meeting button, because then of course then you are being kicked out of the entire session. Okay, so it's going to be jam-packed with so many different things, but like I said, you can chat to us if you have any issues whatsoever. The entire team is so excited to help you. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to go and have this extraordinary conversation. Now, I'll tell you what, one of the things that my team, or I would say the ABH team, has done is to make sure there's something for everyone. And Jason Powell, Executive Director, International, Jack Ma Foundation, will not only welcome you, but he will also walk you through what this extraordinary meeting is all about. Jason, if you can turn on your screen. There you are. Jason, you are on the other side of the world. You know what, icebreaker, what's your weather like?
Oh, it's raining hard today here in Hangzhou, China. We got one of those summer storms that crept in.
Extraordinary, and we're all from different parts of the world. Well, Jason, it's now time for you to speak to your over 500 participants today. Over to you, Jason.
Thank you so much, Anita. It's always great to see your smiling face. And I really wish that I could see everyone in person today. I know we've got several hundred online from all across the world, all across Africa. Warm greetings from Hangzhou, China. As Anita mentioned, my name is Jason Powell. I'm Executive Director for International of the Jack Ma Foundation, and also co-founder of the ABH program. Let me start by thanking everybody, thanking everyone for their trust, our partners, our heroes, our African entrepreneurs, the entire community and our friends for believing in this shared mission. And this shared mission is to support the African entrepreneur ecosystem. It's something that we believe in. It's something that Jack Ma himself really saw with his eyes 5 years ago on his first trip to Africa. And that's where I want to start today. It's actually 5 years ago, July of 2017, his first trip to Africa. We visited Kenya. We were in NILAB, which is a local incubator. And we then went on to Kigali, Rwanda, where we're at the Youth Connect Summit. And something quite remarkable happened that morning in Kigali. I was in Jack's hotel room, prepping him for the day, going through the schedule, agenda, etc. And he looked at me and he said, "Jason, I'm going to announce something this afternoon." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm going to announce an initiative to support African entrepreneurs. And I'm going to announce something by myself, personally, not related to company, but from the Jack Ma Foundation." And it's really at that point that he announced his intention to support African entrepreneurs. That was 5 years ago. And that brings us to today. That commitment has remained steadfast since that point in time. And also, in spite of COVID-19, we have worked tirelessly to ensure that what we do supports African entrepreneurs, regardless of gender, regardless of age, regardless of country, and regardless of industry. That hasn't been an easy task. We've taken on a Pan-African approach. We've gone grassroots in our outreach. We found ways to also bring in Francophone Africa with French application materials. And this is just the beginning. We're going to do much, much more. We're gathering here today not only to spotlight the African entrepreneurs, the ABH heroes, and to give you a platform to shine, but really, I want to roll our sleeves up today. We've set the program up so that you can engage with each other, you can collaborate and network, and also you can learn from some of the best minds in business, whether it's on technology, marketing, investment, and so on. So please use today wisely, leverage it, help make your business grow with what we have to offer. Today, I'm also really privileged to share that we are publishing or just published our first annual report. So I'd like to share a few data points, 3 with you now. The first is, and let me set the context, because entrepreneurs around the world have faced significant challenges. Everybody has. But one thing from an ABH perspective is crystal clear, is that African entrepreneurs are rising. And in a year where challenges were all around us, we saw nothing but resilience and strength in the ecosystem. In fact, not only did some of our finalists adapt to the changes, but a lot of them are thriving. A lot of our entrepreneurs were on the very front lines of the COVID-19 response, leveraging their businesses to deliver blood, oxygen, and critical PPE. But let me share with you a few key stats. The first one is on growth. Today, our 2019 and 2020 top 10 finalists combined support over 8,300 direct and indirect jobs. It's a huge number. Together, they have created 455 jobs, direct jobs, 65% increase since receiving the prize. Several of these businesses are growing at 2 and 3x on a revenue basis, and several of them have raised millions of dollars in funding. Second, we say this at the Alibaba Group, that women are the secret sauce, the secret ingredient to what makes Alibaba successful. I think that African entrepreneur women are some of the best in the world. And it's no surprise then that the top winners from both years, from 2019 and 2020, are female. And half of the top 10 from both years combined are also female. Third, by utilizing this power of storytelling, the 2019 ABH documentary, it's been out for about a year now, continues to win audiences' approval around the world. I'm happy to share that as of today, the documentary, which features all these amazing entrepreneurs, has won 9 awards and official selections from some of the top global TV programs and film festivals. I'm also really happy to announce that in the coming weeks, hopefully within a month, we will have our 2020 show that we filmed last year broadcast across Africa on CNBC Africa, Star Times, and also local TV channels. So we'll keep you updated on when that hits the air. The ABH team has relentlessly sought to look over the horizon so that we can innovate more, so that we can deliver greater impact through our program. And these achievements are only possible through all of our partners, all of our judges, all of our volunteers, our friends, and the entire community. So I want to take a special pause here to really thank you. It's because of you we're successful. This year, we're also excited for our new cohort of heroes that are in the process of screening and judging. And so we just closed this year's applications. We will look forward to announcing the top 50 later this month. And in August, the top 20, in early October, the top 10. And we'll host the finale in November of this year. Finally, I'd like to announce that the Alibaba Netpreneur Training Program is now open for application. It's an amazing program that a lot of our heroes have been a part of in the past. Our team will send a link in the chat so that you can apply for this amazing opportunity. Let me send a very special word of appreciation to our board, Mr. Jack Ma, Her Excellency, Mrs. Grassa Michelle, His Excellency, Mr. Ban Ki-moon. So today's meeting not only reflects the extraordinary work and the journey we've been on so far, but really importantly, it's about the road ahead. And we're only in our third year, so we got a long way to go. So I look forward to rolling up our sleeves together and having more African business heroes shine. Thank you. Back to you, Anita.
Jason, thank you so much. And I mean, who would have ever expected us to be having conversations across the continents, you know, at this time of the year? And of course, one of the things I have to say that makes my heart feel so warm is the fact that our women understand the value that ABH is bringing to them, and they understand the importance of their participation. It's extraordinary. And thank you so much, Jason, and your team for making this happen. All right, so Bogolo is coming up next with a conversation. Bogolo, if you can put on your screen and your audio, I would love to invite you on. And of course, you can see on your screen that there is a poll we want you to be involved in, a number of questions. So it's important for us to hear from you. It's important for us to know exactly where you want us to be, what you want us to do. So the poll is essential for all of your participation. And as you can see, Bogolo is already on the screen, and Bogolo is the global economist and former Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry of Botswana. And the conversation is so exciting because it's time to unlock Africa's economic potential. Bogolo, none other but you can talk us through exactly how to do that. I hope you're well.
You know what, Anita, you are giving me so much energy. I feel like even if I wasn't well, I would say I am well. So thank you very much.
It's the ABH pill. That's what I like to call it, the ABH pill. It's always exciting. But hold on, over to you.
Thank you very much. I am very excited to be here with you all. So excited and so happy to see so many friends on the screen, so many friends online. I know we would otherwise be, we'd prefer to be together physically, but, at least we get to meet virtually. So hello to everybody. Bonjour to my dear friends as well. I am coming to you from Botswana, from the Okavango Delta. So I am sitting strategically in a corner so that I don't make you all too envious about just how beautiful the Okavango is, and that I could be able to deliver this very important discussion to you, and hoping that we can build from it and take it forward in building Africa and realizing the time that is Africa time. And I just want to start off by saying, we will forever remember 2020, and it will forever be written in history as the year that the world came to a standstill, and the year of disrupted trade, of disrupted businesses, of disrupted travel, and most definitely of disrupted socializing, because now here we are talking virtually. And it is really during this period and beyond that African countries find themselves individually and collectively as a continent at very important crossroads in terms of defining and reshaping the transformation agenda, which is what many of African countries were already talking about pre-COVID. But now the conversation and the implementation has to be accelerated and has to be more aggressive, has to be more tailored to what inclusivity, given all of the cracks that we have seen that have been brought to the fore by COVID, because now we are seeing that these, the way our economies are structured isn't necessarily the best way. And AFDB is warning that from COVID and the ensuing economic crisis, we will potentially have about 22 million people slide back into poverty, and we'll have millions of jobs being lost. And there is also this, while these are challenges, I see it as one of those calls that we need to act as quickly as possible in order to make sure that there is no economic scarring from this economic crisis, but most importantly, that at this time when we are planning our economic recovery policies and strategies, that we ensure that we deal with those structural cracks that have now been brought up, and that we deal with inclusivity and dealing with bringing women and young people and ensuring that we are prioritizing their economic agency. And this has been a very important conversation we've had globally with the G7, and we will now engage with it in the G20. And I'm hoping that as the AU summit comes next year, that we will also continue to engage in this conversation, that it doesn't go away as the situation appears to be easing. But we know that our debt issues in Africa are going to be there forever, and our issues of lack of infrastructure are going to be there. So this conversation should not change when infection rates start to decline, but it should be an impetus for growth and for change. And while the drive for COVID recovery is mainly on government, there is still a space for private sector, and in particular for innovators and those in the SME sector, because we know the role that the SME sector plays not only in the continent, but also globally. I mean, European economies are really powered by SMEs. And when we talk about these recovery policies and plans, it is really focusing on how we can ensure that SMEs survive, and how we can ensure that SMEs help us to deliver on those developmental goals that we currently have. So the potential for businesses in the continent is immense. I mean, Africa has been one of the world's fastest growing regions over the past decade. And by 2030, it will be home to nearly 1.7 billion people. And by it will have an estimated 6.7 trillion worth of consumer and business spending. And Africa as well is home to the largest number of people living in poverty, and poverty is intimately connected with a number of indicators and development outcomes, and such as low educational attainment, high prevalence of communicable diseases, violence, underemployment, malnutrition, and stunting. And I know I'm taking a whole detour to talk about challenges, but I speak of these challenges because they, yes, present themselves as challenges. However, to businesses, these should be opportunities, because when you reverse them, what you see are high growth sectors because of the high demand associated with these sectors, and because the majority of the current 1.2 billion people in the continent don't have these or will need better quality to them. So what are these high growth sectors that come off from reversing our challenges? And these are educational, better quality educational services, healthcare services, security and safety services, industrialization, so really manufacturing amongst others, food and agriculture. And then there are other opportunities that come off of the back of facilitatory services, including finance, ICT, and infrastructure. And there are many other enabling trends that I want to talk to in order for us to unlock this African time. And these are global trends, but are very much applicable to the continent and very applicable to how we can really unlock Africa's potential going forward. And these are three trends that I really want to focus on for the purposes of this conversation, and that's digitization, globalization reset, as well as the rise of regionalization or regional integration. So when we talk about digitization, I know all of you are well aware and well versed on the digital transformation that is happening around the world. But what I don't know if you know is that 2019, it was very difficult for us to engage in conversations around digital transformation, especially at governmental levels. I remember when I was with Jack Ma on the high-level panel for digital cooperation, African countries barely wanted to engage in issues of digital economy, in issues of digital trade and digital transformation. And this year, that conversation has completely changed, and you can hear it being echoed around conversations in the AU and the varying African countries, which means everyone realizes the importance of digital transformation as a tool for efficiency, for driving access, and improved service delivery. So we will continue seeing this trend in particular driving businesses and driving service delivery, even in governments, and it provides itself as an opportunity for business. And of course, we expect that we will be engaging in digital transformation talks for the first time, or really building off of the 1998 e-commerce discussion, and finally really talk about this matter during the MC12, the Ministerial Conference of the WTO later this year, because it's a matter of transform or perish. And the second trend that I want to talk about is the globalization reset. Because we saw just how fragile our supply chains are and our value chains are, there has been a big push from various governments around the world and in the continent as well, demanding more play in the global supply chains and in the global value chains. 2019, we were talking about the global value chains and how small and landlocked countries can position themselves to be a part of the global value chains. This year, it has completely changed. There is more pressure for the diversification of global supply chains, because when China was badly hit by COVID last year, trade came to a standstill. Now everyone is looking at how they can diversify their global supply chains, how we can push for more localization, not necessarily in country, but also looking at regionally to ensure that we are able to secure our supply chains, particularly for very important issues as medical supplies. And when it comes to the multinationals themselves, we are seeing this trend as well, that they are actively diversifying. There is some movement from Southeast Asia, some are parking in Africa, and others are moving back to the US in order to ensure that they are de-risking their businesses from overexposure in one market. And this continues to provide an opportunity for African countries. Pre-COVID, everyone was talking about the US trade war, and we were talking about how African countries can position themselves to be winners out of the US trade war. I know this is something that we don't necessarily talk about right now because we are focusing on COVID, but I can assure you that there is still a very active US-China trade war, and African countries must, as they were engaging pre-COVID, position themselves, African countries, African businesses, to position themselves to be main players in the global value chains. Businesses are ready. I know when I was a minister, those in Germany who were previously producing some of their parts out of China, out of Vietnam, we're starting to look at the opportunities that exist in the continent, and some of them were setting up plants out of Namibia, out of Rwanda, some even in Botswana, for components for auto, just to mention a few. So these are real life global trends, but they are real life business opportunities that I think we will need to tap into in order to realize the opportunity in the continent. So now moving to that last aspect of rise of regionalization, we are witnessing, as a generation, we are witnessing one of the largest free trade areas in the world through the African free trade area. And it is about eliminating 90% of tariffs on goods. And we are seeing a large market of 1.2 billion people, $3 trillion of combined GDP, an increased intra-Africa trade of more than 50%, and an increased global income of more than $76 billion in the next decade. This is groundbreaking, and everyone acknowledges that upon full implementation, the AfCFTA will be a game changer, and we're already seeing consignments moving around the continent. Ghana was obviously the first country to open up its borders to AfCFTA consignments, and we are expecting to see more countries participate. And there will be a phase 2 that starts to look at services. So beyond just the goods, we will start to see a protocol on investment. How do we protect your investments capital that moves into the continent? And how do we also encourage the delivery of services around the continent? Then still on that particular matter, I want to touch on COVID recovery. There are many aspects, and quite briefly here, there are many aspects that you should look out for under COVID recovery. One is greening the economy. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of capital going towards climate justice, going towards greening the economy, and ensuring that we're using more green technology and energy, and a lot of movement towards gender lens investing as well, and a lot of movement in infrastructure development, not only by governments, but also by our development partners in the continent. So we expect to see a big push in capital as different development partners want to also see themselves as large players in the continent. Now, given all of those the three main global trends that I talked about, there is one element that is still missing in the continent, and that is access to capital. And for the investors in the room today, we need your capital. Africa is the right place for the capital. We need capital to fuel the innovation that we know exists in the continent, to fuel problem solving that needs to be done in the continent and the various African countries. And this is not charity, it is business, and it makes business sense. And like I said earlier, the challenges that many see, those things that I listed earlier as many see as challenges, are very big opportunities, because there is still scope for growth where there is no growth in the rest of the world. And yes, the continent needs patient capital, but there is also space for and opportunity for capital that is in aggressive spaces and in accelerated growth sectors. And the key here is to understand the continent, to understand the continent and to understand that it is not homogeneous. So you need to take time to understand the various socioeconomic, political risks and opportunities that exist. I see you coming up, Anita. I am wrapping up. And so, while we're talking here about, we're talking about the scramble for Africa, and I know this was a conversation pre-COVID, but this is a time for a scramble of Africa where we as Africans are aware of it, and we can also tap into the opportunities that exist, and we can do business in the continent. And this requires us to be bold, to be persistent, and to be passionate about the development. And it is important that we look at different areas and alternative parts of the economy in order for us to drive and recreate our indigenous economies for prosperity. And this is a job for Africans and supporters of Africa alike, like the Jack Ma and the Alibaba Foundations and many others on this call and beyond. It's a job for distractors, for innovators, and for groundbreakers. And I believe that you are at the center of that. And I am so excited and once again, so thrilled to have been able to join you, and look forward to all the work that will be doing together and transforming the continent. Thank you.
Bogolo, thank you so much. Now, listen, left to me alone, I'd have given all the ladies on this panel a full hour, but we want to be balanced. So thank you very much for joining us, Bogolo, and for outlining the problems and then quickly also balancing that with the solutions. And I believe that all those entrepreneurs, investors, all the interested parties who have logged on today and have that opportunity to listen to you are also kind of sealing their interest, not only in what you're saying, but in what this entire look of Africa's emergence looks like. All right, Bogolo, thank you so much. So moving right along to, thank you, my dear. Moving right along to something that is of essence. The Fireside Chat is designed to encourage a conversation amongst extremely reputable and I would say laudable entrepreneurs, not just looking at new entrepreneurs, but also balancing that with entrepreneurs who have paved the way. Now, the Fireside Chat, of course, I'm going to ask Fred Swaneker, Mulaye Tabure, and Ethel Mupambwa to put on their cameras. Having this extraordinary conversation around resilience and impact of African entrepreneurs is going to lie in their hands. And I'm also going to ask my dear friend Jason Powell to come on. He's on right now, and Jason will be moderating this conversation. Jason, well done on blending the new with, I would say, not the old, but with experienced.
Yeah, thanks, Anita. This is my favorite topic, because what we're going to talk about today is the documentary. And I wanted to just kick off a bit and thank Fred Swaneker, who's been a partner with us for so many years. He's also one of our semifinal judges. And let's kick off this discussion. And, you know, the first question that I wanted to ask, maybe if Fred could kick off, is, you know, Fred, this year's been a challenge for all of us. You've seen our entrepreneurs pre-COVID, during COVID, and hopefully now moving sort of in that past recovery stage. Fred, could you share, you know, some of your experiences, you know, going through these distinct phases? And then I'd love to ask some of our entrepreneurs to also chime in a bit and hear some of their stories about resilience.
Thanks, Jason. And you know, Anita, I don't know whether you're saying that am I the old guy in this panel now?
No, you're just the experienced one.
But yeah, thanks, Jason, for inviting me into this conversation, and great to see lots of old faces and entrepreneurs who are still going. For me, the last year and a half has really tested our mettle as entrepreneurs. When the pandemic happened, I think everyone went into crisis management mode, and it was about survival and how do you secure stockpile cash so that you can make it through this moment. How do you restructure whatever contracts you have to give you more runway? How do you think about safeguarding the health and well-being of your employees and your customers and so forth. So the early stages was about just crisis management, and no one was really thinking about the future. No one, could make any long-term plans. But one of the things that I really believe is that constraints drives innovation. And in Africa, we've always had a lot of constraints. We don't have cash. We don't have a lot of wealth on the continent. So you have to think differently about the kind of products you make so that they're affordable. We don't have infrastructure. We don't have some of the institutions and the ease of capital and so forth that you might find other parts of the world. So you have to think differently. And so what COVID did for me is it just forced us to go back to the drawing board and to reimagine how we did everything. And so what turned out as a curse actually began to be somewhat of a blessing, because it forced us to develop new business models, think about how we can apply technology to keep going, really reimagine what is core and what is non-core, to our businesses. And in our case, for example, as the African Leadership Group, we are now probably going to be growing 5 to 10 times faster than we were doing before the pandemic, because we are moving forward with a much more digital business model. It's opened up markets all around the world for some of the talent that we're developing. And, we made a decision, for example, that we're going to become a completely remote company, and it suddenly actually made business a lot easier to do in Africa, because one of my challenges before was always work permits for staff. I couldn't get work permits into Kenya or South Africa or whatever. Suddenly that's gone. Today my CFO sits in Spain. I have a financial controller in Zimbabwe. I have a senior accountant in South Africa, and someone in Mauritius, and that's my team. I don't have to worry about work permits. I don't have to worry about flying people into a central place for conferences and for meetings, because we can just meet on Zoom. So we're saving costs massively. It's solved one of my biggest problems, which is getting access to talent. And it is actually, even things like, business permits. We are operating in Ethiopia right now, and I've not been there because we are delivering our services digitally. Before you need to go and get 100 permits to open the business there. And now we're live, and people are benefiting from our products. So that is really what this moment has done, is it has forced us to think differently. And so, I'm very thrilled about what is going to happen in Africa in the next decade, because this innovation that we're seeing, many of the business practices will continue after the pandemic. And I believe that the next decade will be one of increased innovation, increased entrepreneurship. And I'm challenging everyone on this call to not lose the lessons from this moment, about how we can move much faster. I mean, we came up with a whole new strategy for our company in 4 months. It would have taken us 2 years to do that before. So we're moving much faster, lower cost, and more innovative ways. And that's what we need to keep doing, even after the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I think your story is so inspirational. It's about embracing change. It's about being forward-looking. It's about being uncomfortable, frankly, and making the uncomfortable comfortable. And there are those really silver linings in the cloud that turn out to be bright stars. Something that we always think about here in the team and in the company, frankly, is one, you really got to know what you want, what you don't want, and what you're willing to give up. And I think for many entrepreneurs, this pandemic has put those questions front and center. And I think some of the more successful ones are going to figure it out early and then act on it. And so let me segue, because we've got another very successful entrepreneur, Molaye, that has been doing an amazing job in his business. Share with us, how are things going with you and Africa, and tell us maybe some nuggets for the audiences to learn from your experiences.
Hello everyone. Very happy to see again the familiar faces, and to be in front of such a crowd. It's almost bringing flashback of 2019. So thank you everyone. I'll try my best to make it short, but intensive. So yeah, Jason mentioned one thing, and listening to Fred, I feel like it's great because all entrepreneurs, in some reason, we feel like we live the same thing. So basically, we had an acceleration on Africa side of the COVID effect, because basically we raised fund. I think we finished our fundraising in February, or January or February of 2020. So basically we doubled the team over the 3 months, basically right after coming out of the ABH. We raised funding out of the press and the interest we got from there. So we doubled the team. We were ready to go and go conquer the world. And you wouldn't believe what happened, of course, in March 15 and the last 2 weeks of March, is that basically our revenue dropped to basically what we did in 2 weeks. We usually did that in a day. So basically, it was horrible when you just recruited basically twice the team a month ago, and you just realize that if you keep going like that, even just 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all of the money that you raise will have you by the end of the month firing everyone and shutting down your company. So it was kind of a pretty intensive moment, especially because we were so hot and coming in so confident into going. But we had to make the tough choices very quickly until we knew what was going on. The people that came the latest and we didn't have even committed to enough and didn't have the time to invest too much, we really gave them a month to find a new job. So we committed to pay them for the month to go, but to let them know that we couldn't continue to commit further. So we tried to make sure that they had time and help them find something to bounce back. And the second thing was we sat down pretty much every night with my co-founders back to the old days where we were the four of us in the room and saying, okay, how do we survive this? And how do we manage to make it actually better out of this? And one of the things that came out is that we basically changed our business model in the middle of the pandemic. So basically 3 months later, before we were only a marketplace, africa.com, enabling sellers to sell everything made of Africa. And basically in the middle of the pandemic, in June 2020, we changed our model that was only commission-based to a model of having a subscription, dividing in half our commission, and offering services for people even if they are not selling on Africa. Mainly, we decided that what we built, for example, we had a great shipping solution with DHL that allows you to ship with DHL for less than $20 pretty much anywhere in Africa. And we opened that with the subscription to even people to use it on orders or shipments outside of Africa. So it was kind of a change also of strategy, saying that we are going from being one channel and growing it to becoming a partner to our sellers. And obviously in the process, we lost a lot of sellers that were following us. But the one that stayed, we doubled down and really helped them grow much, 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 much more farther. So that's the short story.
Anita, I don't know how much time we've got, but I want to ask a follow-up question to Moulaye, because what he just mentioned around changing your business model and changing strategy is not an easy decision to come to first, but even a harder one to implement.
Yeah.
Could you share, Moulaye, can you share a nugget or two to everyone listening that's thinking about, hey, I don't want to change my business model because I got everything set up.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you get that courage to get the team to just, hey, we're going to change things up?
You know, one thing that I always tend to say is that when you're an entrepreneur, if you are really honest with yourself, it's all about also self-awareness. And it's something that really helped propel the change, is that a few months back, actually, we had the chance, thanks to the ABH, to be sitting in a room with Uncle Jack in person. So listening to him really ring a bell, and we really stood out after the meeting with my founders. We were really all talking about the fact that it really showed us that you need to focus on doing what you're the best at and stop trying to improve what you feel like you're not good enough at. That was basically something that was sparked this day. But when you're an entrepreneur, generally, you always know some part of your business that you're not very proud of. You're always you have something that you're uncomfortable with. Like, it's something that everyone has some part that you do it because you have to, but you don't feel great when you do it, and you're not even great in the impact doing it. And for us, it was always the marketing part of the platform. You know, africa.com, when you do a marketplace, people always come and say, oh, you have 200,000 subscribers on social media. You have 500 visitors every month. I need some of that. I need some of that visibility. And the thing is, from working with sellers over the years, I saw that it's not because I push someone on social media that they sell. It's not because they have eyeballs that they are going to sell. And I knew that the hardest part was to get them to understand that they have to be consistent, that they have to take the long-term game of every day, every month, creating new things and serving their clients. But our business model in itself was not aligned to that, because we are only taking commission. It didn't make any sense for people to invest in us every month. They just came when they had product to sell and they were hoping to go quickly as soon as it sold. So for me, the nugget I can give is what made it possible for us to do this change in such a, I might say, dire time. It's not really the environment. It's just that it was something that you always feel in your heart. You always feel like there is one part of your business that you love much more than the rest. And generally is the part that you're better than most people at. And you tend to, as you grow, focus a lot of your energy to cover up on the things you're not that good at, but you think it's important. So crisis is a great way of focus, and Fred was right, constraint bring innovation. So that's what we used. So the only thing I can give to people is really to take the time every time you can to talk with your founders. It has been long since we were like founders like that, the four of us every night doing it, not just doing the job, but thinking about strategy, and it's something that is important. And actually it worked, because I just didn't mention it, but in over 2020, we managed to grow the volume on the platform more than 2.5 times and grow our revenue 5 times.
Ethel.
Exactly.
Ethel, are you there?
Yes,
Ethel, are you
Jason.
still online?
Hello.
Yes. Ethel, share with you've been through some amazing times, hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, COVID-19, et cetera, et cetera. You not only survived, but you're thriving. Could you share with us what's been your secret sauce throughout this period?
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you, everyone. Anita, hearing you again just gives us another derived. Thank you so much. Jason, I always say having to operate in Zimbabwe, it's one thing. Just writing my CV to say I'm a Zimbabwean and operating in Zimbabwe, it's just enough. And the other thing, having to be a woman is totally another step, And now COVID coming and disrupting everything about the business model, everything about even the economic situation in Zimbabwe, you would just then look for a burial site for me, and that will be the end. But no, for me, it has been that that passion that pushed me to survival. It has been that desire to say, if I am facing whatever I'm facing right now, then what more about that next person, that next woman who not even have privileges like the ones that I have? And it means I have to be able to stand, especially for that next woman that I'm saying she needs to survive and needs to support the family. You have spoken about the hyperinflation in Zimbabwe and being in the financial services sector. I'm trying to show you that everything about my business and about myself was proving me wrong. The only thing that it was speaking to me was, Ethel, shut down and go to bed. Look for a job and see how best you can move on to the next life. But at the same time, I would wake up, sit during the night and ask myself, oh God, if I listen to this message that the environment is giving me, that everything is going against what I'm believing and what I'm seeing, what will happen, especially to that next woman? That's the thing that would trouble me, Jason. And it made me stand. It made me who I am and where I am today. You know what? I was actually laughing about it during the last month to say COVID has actually brought a new way of doing business even for us. For us, our clients believed in a face-to-face conversation. They really want to feel loved, and you really have to be there for them. But guess what? COVID then gave us another product, asset financing of a smartphone. For them, it meant that they have to keep in touch with us. And the only cheapest way to keep in touch with us was through the WhatsApp platform. And they started demanding, Manimat, please give us the smartphones, teach us how to be on WhatsApp. And it was a business opportunity. From that, I then realized that for every challenge that we face as entrepreneurs, as business people, it is an avenue to a better product, to a better service. Even at the end of the day, beyond the passion and beyond that dream to say, I want a better life for the next person, it gives us to survive and make money. You know, I really liked what Fred said, having a team scattered around. Wow, I never thought about that. But I'm here sitting, especially from where we are going now, it's about building teams. How am I going to build the proper teams? Teams that will be able to stand even in the next pandemic. And look, the ideas that have come, I no longer need any work permit. It's me going to be able to identify and hire the perfect resource that I need for the growth of the business. And what does it mean to me as a person? It means it's time not to look just within Zimbabwean borders. The sky is the limit. I'm sure I can fly. And if I've survived all this, why not now and fly even more? And being a woman, who wouldn't take advantage of a card that's placed on a table? I pick up the gender card, I raise it high. One thing that I make sure is that I don't disappoint. That's from me. Thank you so much.
Ethel, thank you for that sharing. And man, your drive, dedication, continues to inspire all of us. As Lucy was saying last year during the finale, she can't even imagine how you would survive hyperinflation, being in the business of money. We've got a lot to learn from you. I wanted to draw two conclusions, and I wanted to ask Fred if he can give a last word before we close the session. One is technology has clearly been a theme, and it's favoring those that are digitally enabled right now. Let me reinforce this. At the Alibaba Group, Jack Ma Foundation, we have been on the digital pathway for 19 years. Today, technology is as cheap and accessible as ever before in history. And for entrepreneurs, it really is your fingertips. There are no excuses for you not to find resources so that you can be digitally enabled, like Fred said, run teams globally. But second thing is, what's the purpose? What problem are you trying to solve? I think when you can get the right tools to address the right problems, you'll be onto something big. Fred, could I allow you to pass the last closing words to the team, to the people watching today?
Sure, Jason. So I think, the point you're making is a very important one. Maybe 20 years ago, technology was the domain of technology companies. So companies like Alibaba or companies in Silicon Valley, Google, Facebook, whatever, they were technology companies. But today, I don't think you can be in business without being a technology company. So every company in every sector now has to be a technology company. Technology simply becomes a license to play. It is no longer optional. In every single part of your business, you got to think, well, how do I leverage digital technology to deliver my products to my customers faster and cheaper, to work with my team, to sell on different marketplaces. It opens up markets for you. Now, no longer do you need to be looking at your tiny market in your country or in your continent. You can think globally. If you're leveraging technology, you can access global talent. You can access global capital. So every single entrepreneur needs to really become a technology entrepreneur if you want to be successful. But that being said, we also have to be careful not just to think about technology for technology's sake. You have to understand, the core pain point that you're solving for your customer. And one of the things I always believe that if you want to be successful in Africa as an entrepreneur, find where the biggest pain points are in society, and then build your business around that. Because once you're solving a big problem, we have massive problems with urbanization, healthcare, education, infrastructure. These are all pain points that customers have. If you can come up with a radical solution, and technology allows you to come up with those radical solutions, it allows you to leapfrog and deliver really imaginative business models. You can then build a profitable business with much lower capital than ever before. Just imagine something like advertising your business. 15 years ago, you would have had to hire some fancy television crew, put together, spend 3 months, $1 million to put one 30-second advert on TV. Today, with your smartphone and a few things, and $500 later, you've got your advert and it's on YouTube, right? And that's what technology has enabled, and you're selling. So this happens throughout in every different aspects of our business. So you can no longer ignore technology. Ignore technology at your peril. And related to that is the power of data. Because also with technology now, you can collect data at a rate and pace never before. You can know exactly what your customers are thinking. You can see how they're behaving. Look at, which of your marketing campaigns are working better than others. And with that data, you can make better decisions as a management team, as an entrepreneur. You can design better products for your customers, and you can monitor your business better. So there's so many advantages of this. And so we as entrepreneurs have to stop thinking about technology as a side thing and rather think about it as a core integral part of every business that you're in. And if you do that, then this moment is really a phenomenal time to be an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Fred, for that. Anita, I'm going to turn time back to you. I know I went a little bit over, so apologies.
It's okay. It's all right when it's over, when the conversation is absolutely imperative. And if you would, allow me, so I get from Fred that it's important for us to reimagine our purpose at this time. Listen, there's so much going on. Take advantage of what the average person says is a problem. Turn it into an opportunity. And I also get that it's important for us to force ourselves to change. And that's the thing about entrepreneurs. Sometimes when an entrepreneur makes up his or her mind, they don't want to change. This is now the time for you to change. And thank you, Milaya, for giving that up to us. And Ethel, I get from you that there are new opportunities we never thought possible. And this is the time to latch onto them. Thank you so much, Jason, for bringing these 3 illustrious sons and daughters of Africa to the platform today. Powerful conversation. And as the conversation was going on, I was writing my notes, etc., but there was also a poll on the screen. A good 56% of you all would like to use this opportunity, this ABH community, to look for investors. And that is why we're bringing you this annual conversation, or this annual meeting, is not only to find the investors, but know exactly how to position yourself so that you are attracted to the investors. And on the lighter note, a good 65% of you say, oh my goodness, we should have traveled more before COVID. We've got yet another, it's on your screen right now. 65% of you are saying that we wish we had traveled so much more, But okay, so we have some more polls coming up. The conversation we are having today is essential. My team, I'm told, are recording this, so you also have access to it later on. A lot of you entrepreneurs may want to also reference it. And I'm mentioning that because coming up onto the platform is an essential conversation. It's time to grow your business. Being an entrepreneur sometimes means that you're in a little tiny corner. It's important to do small, but it's also important to think big. And I believe that's what the Chief Investment Officer and Partner at Seed Stars, Charlie Graham Brown, is bringing to us. Charlie, if you could just turn on your screen so that, there you are. Charlie, hey. It's our time. It really is our time.
Hi, Anita.
What does it mean to be African at this time, Charlie?
Exactly. That's what we're going to talk about. Let me try and share my screen as well. So I couldn't get the beautiful background going on my laptop for some reason, but anyway, I got their slide design right. So listen, thank you so much for the invitation, Anita. Thanks for Jason as well. Delighted to be here. Delighted to hear all of the fascinating discussions and all of the energy in this virtual community today. So as you mentioned, I'm here with Seed Stars. I've been investing in emerging markets back since 2009. And before Seed Stars, where we invest in tech at large, I was working in an organization called Blue Orchard, which was more focused on microfinance and financial intermediaries. But with Seed Stars now, since we founded that back in 2013, we've built up, on one hand, a talent incubator where we try and support entrepreneurs in their journey. And on the other side, we provide capital through our global seed stage funds. And what I'm very lucky or fortunate enough to have is an opportunity to invest not just in Africa, but also in Latin America, in MENA and Asia. And when I look at those regions and when I think about what's going on in each, and none of the regions, I think it was Anita or one of you spoke about Africa not being homogenous. It's the same in all the regions, many languages, many cultures. But I think Africa at this time, it's extremely exciting what's going on. Somehow you've managed to kind of pull all of these different cultures, different countries, different stages of development together. And there's just so much energy and activity going on right now. And I think in terms of being an entrepreneur somewhere in an emerging market, I think, yeah, you're lucky to be in Africa at this time. And let's talk a little bit about why and why I think it is time to grow a business in Africa. You may or may not be familiar with some of the key success reasons of startups. And I'm going to touch on a few of them. The first one I want to touch on is timing. And timing is often cited as the most important reason for success in a startup. So in the African context, what is right in terms of timing? The first thing I would cite is this incredibly young population. It's about 60% that's under the age of 25 in Africa. It's the youngest continent. And I'm not saying there aren't challenges with that. There are for sure challenges. But if we talk about the positives here, a startup by its nature is about challenging the status quo and building something new. And when you're building something new, you need early adopters. You need people who are willing to take a risk on your product or on your service. And the youth in general are going to be considered and are considered as much better early adopters. The youth are not set in their ways. They're searching for their identity still. They're trying to figure out what to do in their life. They're a fantastic audience as early adopters. So from that standpoint alone, I think if you are building something for the youth of Africa, they can be your clients as well for many generations. It's an incredible opportunity you have there. If we think then about the other sort of macro and underlying infrastructure behind building a tech company, connectivity, smartphone ownership, the payments infrastructure, all of this has made incredible strides in recent years. And it's, again, really important timing for anyone building a tech business at this stage. You now have this large, okay, it's still low on global terms at about 20% connected, but it is growing and, it's growing at a pretty rapid rate. Beyond the timing, so, that was just 2 points, the population and the sort of connectivity and the infrastructure. Beyond that, one of the other key reasons for success is talent. And Fred's talked a little bit about this and the importance. And Fred and what he's building there is one of the examples of an initiative to just develop and make sure there is enough talent on the continent. But as he was saying, you can now hire people anywhere in the world, which does level the playing field somewhat. But what I'm excited about, and talent in any tech company is going to be a key battleground. Bringing on the right either developers or marketers or business developers, it's always going to be a pretty key battleground. And one of the most important drivers of talent is success. And success breeds success. And what this kind of complex image on the screen is showing you is it's a visual representation of something known as the multiplier effect. Endeavor are doing this incredible research and basically looking at startups and looking at ventures and how they've influenced other ventures. And it's incredible to see. So each of those dots is a startup or is a company. And this is on the Cairo, in the Cairo context. And each of those lines is an influence that one company has had on others. And whether it's through investment or mentoring or team members moving and founding other companies, this multiplier effect is an incredible power in driving the talent and the human capital side of startups. And with all of the successes going on now in Africa, whether it was the Jumias or the Flutterwaves or Paystacks, this is going to be an incredible source of talent for you. So if you need someone now in your team who's managed country expansion or managed SEO or paid advertising or community engagement, whatever it might be, you can at least find that talent now on the continent. And the final thing I want to touch on is the access to capital. So this was at actually the bottom. It was the last reason on the key reasons for startup success. I think it's probably underestimated in that graph that I showed you before. And I think it is highly important in the African context where capital has not been so readily available as some other regions. Not sure where all these red lines are coming from on the screen, but anyway. So COVID did impact the 2020 numbers. You see there's a drop off in the volume, but it's primarily in the large deals. And if you look at the deal count alone, it's incredibly positive still. So even with the context of COVID, the number of deals last year grew about 44%. And it was over 230 startups in 26 markets in Africa, or in 26 countries in Africa that raised venture capital funding. The volumes in H1, so in the first half of this year, have been twice what they were last year. So the growth that you're seeing here is incredible. And I think for entrepreneurs raising capital in Africa, it's a brilliant time. So from these reasons, or from these reasons of startup success, I mean, we touched on a few, and I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that building a startup is going to be an easy journey, but at least some of the key dynamics and the sort of key enablers are in your favor. And if I think back, 5 years ago when we started investing in Africa, the ecosystem is not at all what it was then. To finish off, if I have a few more minutes, I wanted to just share a couple of tips as well on kind of growing your business and things that I've learned or things that I consider to be really important. The first is a mantra or a value that we have at SeedStars, which is in the experiments we trust. And it's a mindset we encourage in our team and in our portfolio companies. Essentially, a startup is a bunch of hypotheses. And the faster you can prove or disprove those hypotheses, the more likely you are to succeed. You're going to have many questions, and some of the entrepreneurs earlier talked about them. Do customers want to pay in subscription, or do they want to pay on demand? Or do they want to communicate through WhatsApp, or do they want to actually pick up the phone and talk to me? A startup is one big hypothesis. And your job is figuring out, whether your hypothesis is right or wrong. And if your learning velocity is faster than your competitors, then you're going to be in a good state. And so think about each of those questions, each of those hypotheses you're going to have, and try and respond to it with experiments. And just list all the different things you could do to figure out, do they want to pay with a subscription, or do they want to pay by on demand? Think of all the ways you can figure that out and run experiments, learn from those experiments. And, if it works, great, systematize it. If it doesn't work, then, change, move on and try something else. The next advice that I would give is about leveraging your peer group, and, organizations and communities like the one on the line today are a great example of that. And I'm a huge believer in the power of peer-to-peer learning. And I would give two recommendations here. The first is to leverage your local peer group. So founders within the same ecosystem, even if you're not working on the same challenges and in the same sectors, you're going to have a lot in common, whether it's the investors you talk to, or the regulations you're navigating, or the payment gateways and infrastructure you're working with. There's going to be a lot to learn from one another. The second piece that I think is perhaps something you're not doing, which is maybe even more important, is about connecting with global peers. One thing I've realized after doing ventures sort of globally for a number of years now is ideas are rarely one of a kind. They're often entrepreneurs who have never met, and they've come up, especially in emerging markets, they've experienced the same pain, they've experienced the same challenges, and they've come up with an idea that is almost identical. They're never identical, but they're very close. And one of the things we do in our portfolio is we try and create these global peer groups of people building solutions to the same challenge and connecting those peers, in Bangladesh and Kenya, in Peru, bringing them together. It's an incredibly powerful group. And I encourage you to reach out on LinkedIn to entrepreneurs you probably don't even know, and just saying, hey, we're building something similar, let's connect. The final message I was going to give is about having a long-term view. The youth and the young generation, it's a lot about instant gratification these days, but the startup game is a long one. It's going to be a 10-year journey or more. And I think having a long-term view is something few people have, and I would encourage you all to think in that way. You're going to be able to predict some pretty big events that are 12, 24 months in the future, raising capital, for example. And if you know you're going to raise capital in 12 months, 24 months, you can start working on the relationships for that raise now. VC is often referred to as being a marriage, and you've got a date before you marry. So start building relationships with investors. And even if you're not asking them for money for another 18 months, share insights with them, make introductions for them, help them out, ask them questions, and just build those relationships. And it's the same for corporate partnerships or potential senior management hires. Just try and think a little bit more long-term than maybe we're all used to. That's all from me. Thanks so much, Anita. I hope I didn't go over too long.
Charlie, and as I'm going to say again, even if you went off over 2 minutes, it would be worth our while. I mean, the ABH has really done the extra by bringing all you wonderful speakers. And what I get from you, Charlie, is the fact that on the continent, on this beautiful continent, we are surrounded by enablers. And it's time for us to pay attention to what they are and take advantage of them. And, the theme is it's African time. So why not? Charlie, thank you so much for joining us. So much appreciated.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
All right. Okay. Now we go into another fireside chat, but it is very different from the first one. Imagine 5 people traveling across 5 countries on the continent of Africa, from Egypt to Ghana to Kenya to Liberia to Rwanda, collating over 150 hours of footage and, filming for over 50 days. I mean, this team was extraordinary. This is the story of what our team did, what our production team did from the birth of ABH in 2019, when all these extraordinary entrepreneurs were springing up from all parts of the continent. Now, do you think it would have been wise for us to just say congratulations to these entrepreneurs and say, well, see you next time? No, we brought you something even bigger. We brought you a documentary that showcased what they went through, the highs, the lows, the biggest questions, the smallest steps, everything put together to tell the story of a real entrepreneur. And today we have won awards across board. Jason is going to come and tell you all about that. But we have won these awards not just because the film is extraordinary, but because it is as real, as authentic, and as original as it gets. Now, in May 2020, the documentary aired for the first time on Star Times in Africa, in both English and in French, and on Youku in China. And we are bringing you this fireside chat because you need to know who was in it and who created it. Take a look at a snippet of the documentary.
When you mention Africa, people think about poverty, the war, Ebola, but it's not the whole story.
Nobody wanted to give them water. So why not do it? Why not do it for my people?
In Africa, we believe that no one is doing our business model, a central hub that works online.
You don't need to have millions of dollars. You just need to have the passion and the will to get it done.
Challenges are always there.
We were struggling to just survive.
They've never seen somebody like me be successful. I thought I was about to die. I've realized a big lesson that if you have a scar, it means you survived.
Regardless of what your dream is, you should make that dream come to reality.
I don't believe in luck, I believe in hard work.
We're so powerful. My generation is living in the best time for Africa. It's our chance to make change.
I tell you, every time I see this, I not only go back to 2019, but I also think of the entrepreneurs who are finding essential solutions to the continent's problems. But we've got to give credit where credit is due. We are going to be joined by the director of the 2019 ABH Documentary. Cloud Liu is joining us, and he's sitting right there with Jason. And of course, later on, I'm also going to bring you the participants. But allow me, if this were a live event, I would say, a round of applause for you guys. Jason and Cloud, a round of applause. I'm just going to clap from my office here in Accra. Congratulations to you. Jason, let me go to you first of all. Your thoughts on this documentary and, you know, how did it make you feel seeing the final product after months of editing?
It's like a baby that's grown, you know, and just be very honest with everybody. We really didn't know what we were doing. We had a vision for what we wanted to produce. We had a team that was hungry, and we went and did it. If I could take a step back, so ABH itself has a few pillars in terms of what we do. One is, of course, the prize competition itself. That's our first pillar. The second is this big category that we call show. We really think that's important because African entrepreneur stories need to be told across the continent and around the world. It's not well understood. I think there's a lot of stereotypes about the continent that are absolutely false. And there's so much beauty and dynamism within the African entrepreneur community that these stories need to be told. And so we are extremely focused that we do this job. And so we were stunned that the team, our stars, the three entrepreneurs, were able to pull together such an amazing production. And as I mentioned in my remarks, we won some awards, and it really, I think, caught us by surprise, but at the same time, we're really appreciative that global audiences are paying attention. We've won the Platinum Remy Award at the Houston International Film Festival. We also won the Best Documentary Awards at the China Documentary Festival and the China Academy Awards of Documentary. We have also been in official selections in South Africa, the US, France, Hungary, Japan, and Singapore. And I think more are coming. And so I wanted to get into this a bit and talk about even a more extraordinary, equally extraordinary story about how it actually all came together. Not many people know that. And so sitting to my left here is my colleague, Cloud. And so Cloud, I want to ask Cloud if you could share with the audience just a bit of your background first. You know, what did you study? What's your, you know, how did you get to where you're at today here with us?
Thank you, Jason, and hello, everyone. My name is Cloud, as a cloud in the sky. My grade is from Communication University of China, and I was trained in the documentary. I have some work produced when I was in the university and when several was in China and overseas. Africa Business Heroes is my first international documentary since I joined Ali Group. Actually, at that time, I just joined the company for 8 months. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to be offered to young directors like myself. I was really think that we are in fact entrepreneurs in the documentary. It has been almost 2 years since I saw Christelle, Omar, and Mahmoud. I really miss the time we spent together during the filming.
Yeah, thanks, Cloud. It's extraordinary. Cloud is a young, very talented director. Some people might think that we went and hired a, big name, big shot, but we didn't. We found people that we knew could get the job done, passionate about it, hungry about it, and that worked. What's also remarkable is before this project, Cloud had never been to Africa. And so, Cloud, tell us what you learned, what you saw, what you felt during that journey.
This is indeed the first time for me and my crew to go to Africa. The whole experience, I think, is fascinating and eye-opening. It has changed the many of perception of me on Africa. Before I went to Africa, African business heroes, African entrepreneurs are far away from me. I only knew Africa is about grand continent, some interesting animals, and so on. But when I was there, I found Africa is divided in every way. It's modern and also traditional, hardworking and creatively. Especially, like me and my crew, we are lived, stayed, and worked with African entrepreneurs. From the palm tree forest in Liberia to the pyramids in Egypt and to the rural village in Rwanda. We experienced the true Africa entrepreneurship. So I'm really thank you them. They drive us to spend more efforts on making this documentary. And I also take this opportunity to thank you every partner and friend in Africa who helped us make this documentary. Without them, we don't have a chance to make so much great film. And I hope work with them again in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Cloud. And we did put Cloud in 5-star hotels, and so him and his team, went to all places. It was in the grassroots team. So let me turn it back over to you, Anita. Let's hear from others.
Yeah. I mean, Jason, isn't this what it's about? I mean, Cloud is so young, and he's experiencing this beautiful continent for the first time. And I think that's what we want to do. This is the next generation of our global leaders that do need to come together. So well done to you guys for choosing someone who will very soon say that the very first place that I guess nurtured his gift, his talent, and his skill is the continent of Africa. Well done to you guys. But Claude has talked about the experience. Jason, you've talked about how it makes you feel. Now, I want to talk to the people who were actually in the documentary, starting off with Omar. Take a look at his snippet.
And to everyone, please fasten your seatbelts because we're going on a very fast trip to the future. Ready? Here we go. I'm the only science-based startup that made it to the finalists. It's a great responsibility. When I first went to Geneva, entered the lab and see all those high-tech equipment in one place, I felt like, wow, very big eyes. When I decided to go back to Egypt, everyone was telling me, do not come now. Middle East and Africa that has no previous success stories of life science companies like ourselves. It wasn't an easy decision for my family. I wasn't so sure about the process of my project. Can we make enough money to sustain the whole family?
Omar. Hi, Omar. I want to know from you.
Hello, Anita.
How are you doing?
Perfect. Excited to be with you today and meet all the old friends.
Absolutely. We are a big family that keeps on growing. But Omar, this documentary took you somewhere, I guess emotionally, mentally. Where did it take you, and what are you happy you were able to share in the documentary?
Let me share something with you and the audience. That particular couple of weeks when the whole team visited us in Cairo, we spent something like, it was a very stressful part. We had some, water, financial pressure. I guess people can even see it in our faces. We were originally stressed out of work. I'm watching the movie with you guys. I can see myself. My eyes are speaking. It was a hell of a week. So yes, we had the chance, of course, to speak our minds and to tell our story. Opportunity. It's like one of lifetime opportunity. You get this once probably per your life. And I'm very thankful for the whole team. Hello, Cloud. Nice to see you again. Greetings from Cairo to you in China. We spent very, very nice moments together, thinking, repeating. And Anita, coming back to your question, it did take us places. People around the world have been talking to us, reflecting to our journey. And I hope it can someone to do something, probably also my fellow scientific colleagues across Africa. I hope it delivered a message to them that we have also in the entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Omar, well said. And Omar Sakre is the CEO of Nawa Scientific, and he is part of the top 10 ABH 2019. I bring it to Christelle, and Christelle is consistently talking about the power of Rwanda being in that water that she is providing her audience. Christelle, before I come to you, let's take a quick look at a snippet from your part of the documentary.
I was born 4 months before the genocide. So I'm actually as old as the new Rwanda is. It's like, you know, we've destroyed as a country, but we're gonna actually build a good country on the continent. Water was a big issue in my country. Water is life, but this water is not life, this is death. So my business as a social enterprise is looking at providing the infrastructure, the treatment of the water before it's delivered to population. Being the youngest person, I know people have doubts, but nobody knew what I'm actually suffering from. It created more empathy in me that when I see people suffering these days, I feel like I know what that feels like. That gives me courage to act, to be like, okay, then I can give you the solution.
Christelle, you know what? I have to be honest. Every time I hear your name or I see your face or I see you somewhere in social media, I get thirsty for clean drinking water, my dear. Christelle, this extraordinary documentary took us to a very personal place of yours. Why was it important for you to share that personal space in our ABH documentary, Christelle?
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking at all those videos and like I get nostalgia. Now with COVID, we can't be out and playing like before. When we were filming the documentary, I was asked to share, you know, what inspires me. And I think through the digging, through the week I spent with the filming crew, that's when it really started to emerge. Like I just have a lot of empathy for my community and for society at large. So they were really digging like, why are you like that? And I think before this documentary used to be like, well, you know, that's just who I am. But as we dug deeper, I realized like, I understand people suffering because I've suffered myself quite terribly. Living with a chronic illness is not something easy. And unfortunately, at the beginning of my university,
Okay, I think we lost Christelle for a minute. Christelle, are you back?
Oh, sorry
Wonderful.
About my network.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please continue. Yeah, please continue.
So I was saying like towards my beginning in university, I was, you know, diagnosed with this rare autoimmune illness that meant I have to always be on medicine, deal with different side effects and live with the reality that any day this thing could kill me. So, and through all that suffering, I guess suffering deeply made me realize how many other people around me were suffering in silence, because rare illnesses, chronic illnesses are like that. You suffer in silence. People see you, you look okay. Nobody realizes that, you know, you have a 1 out of 10 chance of actually surviving this thing. So that as we dug with the filming crew, and this has really framed my story moving forward, kind of realizing how my big sense of empathy, which led me to found a company that really has a huge social value and is working on something that is so basic, like the need for safe water, came from such from a feeling of suffering and a bad place for me, that then founding the company and addressing other people's needs and suffering was my way to turn that suffering into a big strength of mine. So that was one of the beauties also of the filming crew. I think now when I tell my story, before I used to not be able to even share about my illness journey without crying or feeling really weird, like I just really just overshared. But now it's become a story I share more often, and I've seen that it's quite empowering for many people. Through this entrepreneurship journey, we're dealing with many other factors from our own personal lives. And unfortunately, as entrepreneurs, whenever they ask you, how are you doing? The usual reply is how your business is doing. So coming out as an entrepreneur, that people usually see me winning, being successful, and sharing the other side of that coin, which is my illness, and the fact that I'm still surviving this major thing has really been super inspirational for people who are having to combine their entrepreneurship journey with other big milestones in their life, such as just surviving a major illness.
Thank you so much, Christelle. And we are grateful because these are personal stories that you see, as important to share with our entrepreneurs. And we're really grateful for that opportunity. If you take a look at your screen right now, there is another poll that is ongoing. Why you want to be an entrepreneur? Ooh, that's a good one. But this brings me to an entrepreneur who defied the odds. And when I say defied the odds, I mean the worst case scenario. Take a look at Mahmoud Johnson's story, a snippet.
I don't think 5 minutes is enough. I've been doing this now for 6 years. Everything. I want the judges to know about everything. I come from a country where there aren't too many young people who are doing entrepreneurship. Kids in other countries were having normal childhoods, normal lives, and we were going through this war where we were struggling to just survive. My old school is there. During the war, the entire city was destroyed. This is my mother, and she's the hero for the story I'd like to tell today. And she used almost all of her profits to enroll me into one of the best schools in the country, which laid a solid foundation for my future. When I graduated, I knew that I had to return home to try to contribute in some way to my country's post-war reconstruction effort.
I feel like just turning off my Zoom and just going back to watch the documentary all over again. Mahmoud, you, I'll never forget that moment of referencing your mother. I wanted to cry, but at the same time, I wanted to clap. And the documentary brings that superpower connection you have with your family, you have to your country. What kind of goodness did this documentary bring to you? Did it do for your soul, Mahmoud?
For me, the value of participating in this documentary was being able to share multiple stories. First, being able to share my personal story, because I think that there are so many people in Liberia and across Africa who grew up the same way I grew up, who grew up in similar communities, where it's very easy to lose hope. And I wanted to share my own story of how I had been able to not be a victim of the circumstances I was born in, and to be where I am today. I also wanted to tell the story of Liberia as well, because I think most times when people hear about Liberia, the automatic thing they think of will be the negative things that have happened. Think about the war, think about poverty, think about Ebola. But I am Liberia. I have so many friends who are doing amazing things, and they are also Liberia as well. And it's important for us to have what Chimamanda refers to as this balance of stories. And so I wanted to also, I thought it was important to also stand on that stage in front of all of these influential people and the cameras, and say, yes, all of these things have happened in Liberia, but they don't define us. We get to tell our story. We get to thread a new path. And so that for me, that was what this documentary was really about. Was about presenting a more complex and more nuanced story that hopefully gives everyone a more optimism for the future of the country and for the continent.
Mahmoud, well done. Liberia is not too far from me, love the country, love the city of Monrovia. And I want to give Jason the last word before I move on to the ABH 2020 show. Jason, few words to say, what this essentially has done for you or has done for ABH, this powerful storytelling through the documentary.
Well, I really think, and I'll center this back on the entrepreneurs, because this is Jack Ma's vision. He wanted to build what ABH was not just a prize competition. He saw that as one key element, but just one of many. And a major part of what we're trying to do here is really to spotlight these stories so that they inspire other people, one. And two is just as Mahmoud said here, there's not just one side to a coin. And there's so many real stories that haven't been told that need to be told. So I'm happy about our initial success. I'm really happy that Mahmoud's story, Umar's story, and Christelle's story has gotten out. And I look forward to more stories going out. We look forward to kicking off our second documentary. We'll share some details around that probably later this year. At the end of the day, also, I want to really thank Mahmoud, Omar, and Christelle for trusting us to help explain your story, to get into your personal. That trust is not to be taken for granted. I want to also thank Cloud and the team for spending hundreds of hours to make this production possible. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have done a premiere in Hollywood. I'm not kidding. That was part of the plan, and actually that was a requirement because we did try to apply for an Academy Award, and one of the requirements of that was to do a premiere in the United States. So bookmark that, because that's going to happen someday.
It is going to happen. Jason, thank you very much. And Cloud, you, I didn't see you when you came to Ghana. Big mistake, but I need to see you the next time because I don't think that they took you to the real eating joint. So you'll be my guest the next time you are in Ghana. But this conversation is not ending. It's continuing, but in a different dimension. But before then, listen, this is a crazy, amazing response to the poll. Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? 93% of you said, I'm a dreamer with a great business idea and a problem to solve. And that's the ABH story. We believe in your dreams. And that's why we're here. All right. So let's go to the second part of this second Fireside Chat, which is the ABH TV show. I have to salute Jason and your team because you turned what could easily be a major problem. We had COVID, we had nowhere to go, we had to create something. And your team of innovative thinkers created this outstanding ABH 2020 show. And I want to show our audience what it looks like. Take a look.
Last year, Africa celebrated.
Demi from Nigeria!
We came together from across the continent to acknowledge our heroes.
You are gonna go places.
Thank you.
Great minds changing lives. This year, we're doing it again, slightly differently. 10 outstanding entrepreneurs selected from 22,000 hopefuls competing for their share of a $1.5 million prize.
Unlock Potential Africa.
We'll get to know them better.
Merci beaucoup.
We are all winning.
We'll put them under pressure.
Tough one.
Let's get to work. Wow.
And we'll give them the opportunity to pitch their vision.
It's a very good pitch.
Thank you so much, Strive.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you.
Catch every moment of this inspiring journey on Africa's Business Heroes 2020.
I'm looking forward to the finals.
I'm scared at the results. I mean, even though we already know what the results are, but that's all that energy that video brings to you is everything that happened in a year when people buckled in, we buckled up, and we created this TV show. I have to say extraordinary congratulations to the team. We will come to the essence of the ABH TV show, but not without bringing onto the screen Abubakar Karim, who was part of the top 10 ABH 2020, CEO and founder of Investive, Abubakar.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm great. But before we come to you, we want to take, well, actually, no, I don't have any more snippets, but Abubakar, just tell me about your moment. I remember that time when you were sitting in Quebec, or was in Montreal, Canada. It was hot, it was heavy. Tell us about your participation in this ABH show. What has it done for your personality and your business?
So this show really allows us to to improve our communication skills, because before the show, it was the really for each of us, I think, the really show experience, and it was very interesting because we really push our limits in order to. Sometimes we were tired and things like that, but we really push our limits in order to communicate our vision, our business in the best way. And also, I'm a French speaking man, but I make the choice to do it in English because I think that we will have a better audience. And I remember sometimes I had some conversation with another top 10, my friend Axel Emmanuel, the chocolate boy.
Chocolatier, yeah.
Yes, and we share skills together in order to respect the appointment, to prepare ourselves before the camera team come, because they were with us within more than 2 weeks if we count everything. So it was very, very interesting, and also our team have the chance to participate also. So it was like a team building activity finally also.
Beautiful. Let's take a look at your snippet.
Okay.
Investive est une entreprise ivoirienne dont la vision est de contribuer à bâtir le futur de l'agriculture africaine en misant sur les moyens de haute précision et la technologie. Planification de cartographie qui permettent déjà de mieux gérer l'espace. Ensuite, on parle de diagnostic phytosanitaire qui permet de faire le suivi une fois que l'exploitation est lancée. Après, on parle de pulvérisation qui permet de traiter. Je dirais que l'entrepreneuriat, vraiment, c'est dur, mais on le fait quand même. Et pourquoi? Parce qu'on a un impact sur nos communautés.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Abubakar. And now let's take a quick look at Emma Naluyima's snippet. I love this one.
I've done more work than you guys who have stayed here. Yes. Now what is happening here is we didn't have electricity, so we are working on a generator. Everyone is charging their phones and tweeting and retweeting. So I think by end of today, we shall be having very many tweets.
In Entebbe, Emma is waiting for her results and...
Top 3! Well done. Oh, we did. Congratulations, but you did not get I only read congratulations and then read top 3. So I didn't read these other things. She said, congratulations, ... but you did not make to the top 3. So
Emma, next time read the entire message. But Emma, tell us about your experience in this entire... I'm so sorry. Tell us about your experience, Emma.
It was such a great experience. Oh, hi everyone. So it was such a great experience. And then that time, let me just go just a little bit. So they give us this challenge in the morning. And then I sit with my team and we're arguing. So what do we do? Facebook, Twitter. And then to make matters, I just didn't know that my whole team of 56 people, of course, some of them were not in, but my whole team of 56 people, only 2 of us were on Twitter accounts. Then I had to tell them that, okay, I have to do Twitter because Twitter is better and all that. And then actually one of my team members said, I've never heard of Twitter. And then as we're running around, making sure that I talk to people, I called some person and this person says, we asked him, do you have a Twitter account? And the person said, Twitter account? No, I have a Islamic bank account. So he thought a Twitter account was a bank account.
No way. But Emma, so you're gonna tell us very quickly how the experience, was for you.
It was really interesting. It was nice. It energized me. You remember, it all came during the lockdown, and schools were almost the most affected. And then, so it came out, and then I had all this energy. So like I had an opportunity to run and go and talk to people and tell them about the school, irrespective of us being closed. And but one thing that made me, because remember, our school is math, science, and technology, and then we keep saying technology, and then my team even doesn't have Twitter accounts, doesn't have all these. But then fast forward, after that time, we always tweet. They all got Twitter accounts, and we always tweet, and we actually got many people. We got visibility, but it was really nice. I remember, and then it was courageous. There's a time I had to run on the streets, literally running and bumping to someone and say, I told someone, no, you know what? Someone tells you, I don't have internet, and I tell them, no, I can give you a hotspot with my phone.
Emma, thank you so much. You are always such a bright light. I know we've run over time, but Jason, I have to quickly give you the last word on this fantastic opportunities you gave to our entrepreneurs. I want to give you the opportunity to finish off this second Fireside Chat.
Well, Anita, I got to start by thanking you as our official host. And you've got stories to tell and how many takes we've done over the last, 6, 7, 8 months. So thank you so much. So audience, if you recognize the voice in those snippets, it's Anita, who's masterful. And you'll see it again. We are planning to release it first on CNBC Africa, continent-wide, later this month, then Star Times and the local channels. So stay tuned. We will update the community on where to watch. First thing. It was extremely hard to get this done. Oh, extremely hard. Think about your businesses in COVID. We, sitting here in Hangzhou, were planning this TV show with 10 of our entrepreneurs spread across Africa. Our judges, furthermore, spread across different countries around the world. And so big ups goes to Michael, our project manager, the entire team at Rapid Blue. Thank you for assembling an amazing global team to get this all done. That is perseverance. And there should be like a short little business case on how we pull this one off. So that's number one. Number two, we're gonna have fun with this. And every year, we're gonna do this TV show. This year we stepped up our game. It's a 4-episode, 45-minute each episode. And we had fun with it. We made sure that there's meaning to it, but as you saw in the snippets there, we put in some reality challenges. We're gonna make it fun to watch. Third thing, this is a masterclass in entrepreneurship. And the reason is, not only are you seeing these 10 heroes go through the process, you get to see business legends provide immense feedback and advice during this process, during the finale. That is, I learn tons every time I watch it. So that's the third thing. And the last thing I'll say is, for the entrepreneurs, for the heroes that trusted us in this process, this is going to be the best marketing ever. and leverage it. It's your time to shine. It really is. And so I'm happy again that we're able to pull this together last year. We're going to keep doing it every year.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you to all the participants. Well done to you. Well, we are ending this first part, but not without one more poll. How did your business react to the threat of COVID-19? Now, these polls are also helping us to put together the kind of material that will enable you entrepreneurs across the continent of Africa, and of course, Africans in the diaspora as well. So yes, the poll is open. Let's just spend a good 10 more seconds on it. I see the majority of you are saying that you adopted new technologies, and that's what Fred mentioned, and that's what a lot of our entrepreneurs have also been talking about, how innovative you became. Yep, we are at 43% percent for technologies. And I think that's going to be the biggest conversation, how you capitalize on, use, or apply the power of technology to ensure that your business does stay afloat, not just through COVID, but even post-COVID. Thanks so much, guys, for launching these polls. Very, very essential. And now it's time to take a look at our last video, and that will segue into our next part. This is a full day, and I hope that your attention continues to be rapt. Take a look. What does it look like? A day in the life of an African entrepreneur.